What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another profile here on UFS University. My name's Tam, and today I'm going to be doing Tim Keefe 3-dot stacking Tim Keefe 2-dot. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about the deck. I decided to do Tim Keefe 3 stacking Tim Keefe 2 because this week we're doing a whole thing on all the champ character cards that have come out, and so it's just easiest to go ahead and stack the two. They don't share any symbols, which makes the deck Tim Keefe 2 sometimes a dead draw. But once you get them both out, they're so strong together. A couple abilities. Tim Keefe says that your attack strings get way cooler the scarier attacks are, forcing your opponent to block, and randomly giving things +3 damage. The -3 speed never really came up ever, because attacks are just so beefy nowadays that it's really easy for them to accidentally for like a 3 speed for 5 damage. Well, the top enhance just doesn't do anything. The seal 1 and plus your check is actually the main thing we're doing with the deck, hilariously. But we have to play the good symbol under a Keefe because I think that's the best gauging stackering ability in the game. So we're playing 3 extra Tim Keefe 2-dots on top of our Tim Keefe 3, so that whenever we start getting to our cool stuff, the more that we have stacked, the better it is. I'll explain as we go. So here's Tim, and I'll put these off to the side. So the first card we'll play Let's Cut Loose. We're playing good, so being able to pick up any foundation we want and block with it. This card is just like, this card's super value town, 9 times out of 10, especially with the way that we want to build with Tim Keefe 2. A lot of times we want to go like foundation and then attack so that we guarantee get our pluses. All of our attacks are 4 base difficulty, every single one of them. And so going foundation, attack, foundation, attack, foundation, attack means that on all my attacks, Tim Keefe 2 gets to respond and gives +2 to my check, which basically says that it's -1 difficulty. It's some interesting ways that you play the lines, but you'll be able to see from a Sunday Funday that we did out on Facebook a couple of the lines that I did. So Let's Go Loose, super neat in the deck, especially with the way that we're playing it. Onto the attacks, we're playing 4 Moon Ritual Dance. This card is the best gauging card. There's so many times where I've thrown this just on turn 1, because the faster you can stack your Tim Keefe, the better. It's a 7 speed low for 2, which on turn 1 they can't do anything about. If you happen to have checked a spam and you've only got 1 character card, you can build a card in for free. So this by itself is just like a +2. And then later in the turn, once we have all of our Tims stacked, you get them all, and now we can start looping Moon Dances. I've played quite a few games with this deck, and not once have I had all of them stacked. The most I've had is 3 Keefe, so 1 3-dot and 2 2-dots. I've never gotten the third one. Third 2-dot stacked. But this card just, they don't want to block it, and then randomly gets a little bit bigger. It's a 7 low for 5 and Tim 3, which means the half block still gauges, and there's a lot of 0 mid blocks that are good, as well as discard momentum for an additional at least 2 damage, right? It's good. You should definitely be playing it. The next card, Dispelling Horn. So this card is deceptively good in Tim, and let me tell you why. So it has the reversal keyword, and Tim loves playing reversals, so much so that because of his response, it says that they're just not allowed to block your reversal. So you can get as beefy as you want to with the reversal, and either they deal with it, or you lock them out of 2 of their foundations. I think reversals are the way that you play Tim Keefe 3. And this gauging and getting 4 speed and 3 damage off of Tim means it's an 8 for 7 on a 4 diff reversal. And the Deadlock Enhance is incredibly useful, especially because of the next card that we're playing, which is 4 Nutcracker. Yeah, I know this is like a little bit of an expensive deck at this point, but really it was the only way that I could possibly think to get Tim Keefe to hit the damage that I wanted him to, was to throw in something that says +4, +3, and to pass really well, especially with Nutcracker adding in foundations. So with Tim Keefe 2, you can add in a Sense of Morals off the Nutcracker and then play another Nutcracker, and this is on a 4-5. Even if you check a 3, you can pass it with Tim. And so like the combos that happen with the Nutcracker good package are just so immensely strong that like I think you have to play it. The Breaker didn't matter, and the EX mattered a bunch because it gives +3 speed, +3 damage. Up next, we've got 4 Shinryukan. The main reason this card's in the deck is it has a printed speed that's higher than damage. So with Shinryukan, if you're able to combo with, it gives 6 worth of stats, speed or damage, and then exclusively damage, just by itself. Deadlock combo never came into play, and stacking something in order to play something later was super, super relevant. There's some real cheeky stuff that you can do with Shin Ryukan that I'll explain halfway through the video. And then my last attack is Takeda's Kunai. It was the weakest attack in the deck by far, but it's got a really gnarly one low block, and it is, once again, Keefe land. It gets +5 damage by itself and Keefe, and stun 2. So they have to block it, which triggers my response. It's pretty good. Randomly has EX. It's also relevant sometimes. But yeah, on the foundations. We've got 4 Burning with Revenge. This is the MVP of the deck for sure. There's some really cool, cheeky stuff that you can do. I'll just do this real fast. So you can play Nutcracker, add in Burning with Revenge, then play Shin Ryukan. So the Shin Ryukan... Nutcracker gets 4 damage, Tim Keefe gives it 3 damage, Burning Revenge gives it 2 damage, and you don't add it down, then Shin Ryukan, you give it 3 damage, you give it 2 damage, adding it face down, and now you can combo, and your check got +2 because the 2 is in between the 2 and the 2 4s, if that makes sense. And so like there's some real cheeky combo-y stuff that you can do with this foundation, as well as, to a lesser degree, Sense of Morals. But the fact that Sense of Morals just doesn't count means you can just play it from your hand, and it just says basically your next attack gets -2 difficulty because of how Tim Keefe works. Yeah, both of these are super, super good, and you got to play 4 of whenever you're playing any sort of Nutcracker deck, even if that's the only card that you can grab out of the discard pile. Next card is Unhealthy Diet at a 4 of. The reason I'm playing this is 4 of my attacks have the same speed as damage. So I'm mill 2 to give it +1 speed, and then Tim Keefe gives it +3 damage, so 1-3. Also randomly life gain. It didn't matter in the matches that I played, but like it would super matter versus some grindy games. Yeah, the card's super, super good, and randomly puts things like Burning Revenge or Sense of Morals in your discard pile. So there's that. Next card is Voices in the Dark. This card is a very good utility card. It shuffles momentum as well as randomly. Flip a Foundation's attack is -1 damage. So what you can do with Tim Keefe is on those cards that have that are base 4/4, you can flip for -1 and then Tim Keefe for +3. So this card actually says flip for +2 damage. It's a little cheeky and sometimes matters. It just makes them want to block more so that you can respond to Tim Keefe and lock down a couple Foundations for them to continue to pass. Especially if you have to do this for the reversal play. 4 mid for 6 is actually nothing to sneeze at. Especially if it gauges and gets you your other Tim. Up next, we've got triple Kieran Soul. It says if you block, you take no damage, and you get -1 speed for each character. We are stacking characters, so there's no reason not to play this card. It doesn't have a block, but like it itself is a perfect block. So it's good. You should probably play it in every deck that can play these symbols, at least at like a 2 of. More if you're stacking characters. We're playing $500 Sunglasses. So we're playing this because after you stack Tim Keefe, whenever you start sealing stuff, they're going to start to want to commit those things. And what I found is the more that you seal, the more they're willing to commit that thing. So you seal a problem card, and they play an ability, and then you respond and commit your $500 Sunglasses. They'll probably commit the thing that you sealed, which means on the following turn, yours or theirs, depending on when you use this, you then get to seal a different thing. It does not have to be the same sealed answer every time. And so, like, we're constantly playing this cat and mouse game of what do I seal, what do I commit, followed along with, and I'll find it real fast, emergency rations. This card says that I basically seal more cards because they still can't play the abilities. So if you've got 3 Sense of Morals out, or you've got a bunch of a singular card, I'll just flip and say, hey, you can't do that anymore. But neither of us can do that anymore, and then I'll start sealing other targets. Super useful tech. Definitely people should be playing this card. I think it's incredible, especially versus assets. Moving on, we've got Wishing Ward. The main reason I put this in here is it was a really good 0. We call it spam, which means that if I open a Moondance on 1 and I check this thing or discard it or review it, I've done that before, I then get to build it in. Momentum control without using the Voices in the Dark, and also it mills 3 cards off the top of my deck. So if I'm trying to fish for Burning with Revenge or Sense of Morals, it's just another way that I can try and find that target. It's pretty good. Triple UniVersus of Nether Realms. I think Flip Draw 1 is totally fine. Desperation never happened. Never wanted to use it. But Flip Draw 1, super relevant. Sometimes you just need a little extra gas. Double most trusted assassin. Once again, it's just spam. The lose one first form's really nice. Honestly, I just wanted the 0, and it's a solid block. It's a mid block. I'm sure there's other 0/5s, maybe not under the good symbol, but like it's fine. Double cool and focus. I just wanted something cool to block with. Being able to pick up cool and focused with Let's Cut Loose and just perfect blocked anything, any multiple, any whatever. The form was per turn discard top card. Never happened. I either blocked with it or I reviewed it. I never ever wanted to build it. So there's that. And then my one of, I'm playing one Wandering Pirate. This was super good versus Coffee Samba. Super good to pick up. Super good to drop down with Let's Cut Loose. I played one Bebop Blues for Action Hate, and I played one Shadow Inheritance because of the way that I want to build with Tim Keefe 2 of Foundation Attack. This just randomly became big, adding in things with Nutcracker and being like, hey, you actually did not block that 14 damage Nutcracker or whatever. So yeah, that was Tim Keefe 3 dot under good, stacking Tim Keefe 2 dot under totally off symboled. The biggest pros and cons of the deck is the deck is rad when you get stacked, and I think it loses to anybody that stacks better. So the reversal that gets +4 speed if you've got more characters just loses to all the 7th cross characters. But without the 7th cross characters, you wouldn't have the cool gauge attacks to play all those cool cards. Could the deck run as Tim Keefe 3 dot without 2 dot? I don't believe so. I actually think that you need 2 dot in order to make Tim Keefe 3 dot work. But could Tim Keefe 2 dot run without 3 dot? I also am not positive that's the way to go, because I don't think that Tim Keefe 2 dot threatens damage, threatens life, threatens real game state. He's an annoying control character, but the best way to play this +2 to your check thing is to use Nutcracker and all of that. And so without the +3 damage off of Tim Keefe 3, I'm not sure that Tim Keefe 2 gets there. So if you like the deck, please leave a comment down below. We'd love to hear everything about your builds and suggestions of what we should do in the future. So with that, from all of us here, stay alert.